Fel followed the caravan closely with Mukuda at his back, while the adventurers couldn't help glancing at and talking about Fel. They want to know exactly if Fel is really a fenrir or a great wolf. Mukuda was curious how the rumors about him and Fel reached Leonhardt, but one of the adventurers mentioned guilds having teleportation tools used for exchanging letters, which explained everything. Mukuda couldn't help but feel worried about the countries making their move to try to get Fel on their side. He also doesn't want the information about his online grocery and being an otherworlder to be revealed. Once the caravan stopped traveling for the night, Fel sternly reminded Mukuda about the feast he promised, so they had to find a secluded place away from the caravan. Both his familiars wanted meat, so he had no choice but to agree. Mukuda took out all the remaining meat and seasonings in his item box. He started by cutting the cicatrice breast into bite-sized pieces, then put it in a bag and added garlic, wine, and soy sauce before massaging it. Afterwards, he added some flour and shook the bag. After mixing it well, he took out the meat and deep-fried it. Sui is now a food enthusiast as well. He praised and described the karaagi's flavor while eating multiple pieces. Meanwhile, Fel is devouring his portion, not caring about anything else. Seeing how his familiars ate their food so quickly, Mukuda started cooking again. However, the great smell of the dish started reaching the caravan, so they couldn't help but look for it as they found Mukuda finishing preparing another batch of karaagi. The merchant and the adventurers looked passionately at the food, so Mukuda had no choice but to offer it to them. The group was amazed at how delicious this dish is, and they tried to eat as much as they could. Mukuda couldn't eat a single piece as the group and his familiars ate everything. Fel wanted more, but all their meat was gone. The adventurers praised Mukuda's cooking, and to show their gratitude, they told Mukuda that they would take care of the night watch so he could rest properly. The adventurers threatened the thieves. However, they aren't fazed at all, but when Mukuda and Fel stepped in, they couldn't help but shake in fear. The next morning, the group arrived at the city of Karolina. The merchant explained that it is the 5th biggest city in Leonhardt, and that his family has been a leather merchant in this city for generations. At the same time, the adventurers brought the thieves to the knights before bidding farewell to Mukuda and the merchant. Mukuda decided to visit the adventurers guild first. However, the receptionist informed him that his membership had been revoked since he hadn't finished a quest in a month. Mukuda told the receptionist that he had been busy, so the receptionist explained that G-rank adventurers usually try to finish as many quests as they can to rise to F rank, since in F rank they are only required to finish at least one quest in 3 months. Mukuda had no choice but to register again. He also informed the receptionist that he would register another familiar. When the receptionist asked what kind of familiar it was, Mukuda took out Sui proudly. When the receptionist was dumbfounded by seeing a slime, Mukuda boasted how strong and special Sui is. However, the receptionist still has a weird expression, and the other adventurers started laughing at him. But Mukuda didn't care, as he knew how special Sui really is. While Mukuda was waiting for the guild butcher, Lars' group arrived, and he asked Mukuda if it was alright if he let them watch the process as they wanted to see the monsters Fel hunted. Mukuda agreed, but the group was shocked after seeing the mountain of high-level monsters Mukuda took out of his item box. After seeing the corpses of high-level monsters, they are now certain that Fel is a fenrir. The guild butcher was really enthusiastic after seeing the high-ranking monsters in front of him. He explained the proper process to extract all the precious materials from the monster. After realizing that all the meat used on their meal the previous day was luxurious, the group of adventurers bowed down and apologized to Mukuda. But Mukuda didn't mind it at all. Seeing Mukuda's kindness, the adventurers told him to rely on them if he's troubled by anything within the city. Afterwards, Mukuda went to an inn recommended by Lars. He started planning what to do next, and although he didn't really want to be an adventurer, it is necessary for him to reach F rank as he needs the guild butcher to take care of the monsters Fel hunted. While Mukuda was resting, the goddess suddenly complained about the lack of offerings from Mukuda, so he had no choice but to buy some sweets from his online grocery store and start praying right away. The goddess celebrated after getting her sweets before reminding Mukuda not to forget the offerings in the future. Afterwards, he just hugged Sui to sleep. Mukuda returned to the Adventurer Guild the next morning, looking for quests that suited him as he planned to reach the F rank. Mukuda wanted to choose the quest to gather herbs, but Fel was insisting that he should hunt some goblins. Mukuda ignored Fel completely. However, Fel started using telepathy as he continued insisting that Mukuta should hunt goblins to reach F rank faster. Fel wouldn't concede, as he's desperate to reach the ocean as quickly as possible to satisfy his cravings for kraken and other sea creatures. Seeing Mukuta's determination, he woke up Sui instead in order to use Sui's desire to fight against Mukuta. And like Fel thought, Sui is eager to fight the goblins. However, Mukuta still didn't give up. He asked Sui if he wanted to gather and consume herbs with him. But Sui answered that he already had the skill to produce medicine, so he'd rather fight. Mukuta helplessly accepted the goblin hunting quest after this. Afterwards, they started traveling towards the goblin's location. And after finding some goblins, Sui asked right away if he could fight. But before Fel or Mukuta could respond, Sui had already shot his acid, which immediately killed the goblin. And he managed to kill all 3 goblins with little effort. Mukuta still feels amazed by Sui's acid. However, what he's worried about is the quest's requirement, which is cutting the goblins' ears as proof that they really hunted the goblins. Mukuta looked traumatized after doing it, and Fel was annoyed with how weak Mukuta is even though he's used to cooking high-ranking monsters. Mukuta refuted that it's different while raising his voice, and because of this, another group of goblins were attracted to their location. Fel gave the instructions while Sui happily shot the goblins to death with his acids. Mukuta wanted to stop, as they had already killed more than the quest requirements. However, he couldn't refuse Sui's cuteness, and he begged Mukuta to continue hunting more goblins. Fel didn't wait for his response as he dragged the helpless Mukuta to find more goblins. The group only stopped after killing all the goblins in the area. Sui happily thanked Mukuta after this. While Fel dragged him to the mountain of goblin corpses, he forced him to cut off all of the goblins' ears. They were troubled with the goblin's corpse as they couldn't leave it alone because it could either attract a stronger monster or cause a dungeon to appear, which couldn't happen since the area is near the city. After thinking for a bit, Fel came up with a solution. He thought of using Sui's acid to melt all of the goblins. Mukuta asked Sui if he could do it, and Sui affirmed right away. Afterwards, Sui's size started increasing, until he was multiple times bigger than Fel. Seeing this, Fel realized that Sui had evolved again, so Mukuta checked Sui's status right away. After opening Sui's status, they noticed that Sui's race changed to Big Slime and he gained a proliferate skill. Then Sui explained that his proliferating skills allowed him to grow bigger or smaller, and he proceeded to make countless small copies of himself. Due to this, the mountain of goblin corpses melted in an instant. Mukuta asked Fel if he had seen something like this before. However, he answered that this was the first time he had seen something like this in his whole life. While watching Sui, Mukuta realized that Sui will be a lot stronger now after gaining this ability, and he could even use it with his potion creation skill. Afterwards, Sui complained about his hunger. They went to a different location before deciding what to eat. Mukuta suggested bread, and Fel answered that he's fine with anything, while Sui answered that he loves any food that Mukuta makes. Then Mukuta took out different kinds of bread right away. Sui was happily trying all the variations of the bread, while Fel got all the bread that had some meat. Then he proceeded to praise all the food that Mukuta has been feeding him. However, he started blushing after Mukuta noticed that he was being considerate. Afterwards, Mukuta started eating as well while drinking some sweet coffee. At the same time, he couldn't help feeling worried about killing so many goblins in a single day, which is enough to get him into F rank. The scene then changed to Ninrir, who was happily eating the sweets that Mukuta recently offered. However, she didn't notice that she was being watched by other goddesses. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and look forward to the next part.